What's up, hello, y'all? It's your favorite boy girl, Michael G here, and welcome back to Cocktails and Bubbles, baby. Are you ready to get your motherfucking bubble burst? Welcome back to Cocktails and Bubbles. I'm so excited to have you all back in the hot tub with me, but I brought a couple of special friends this time that I want to introduce you guys to. This is Sydney Inks, Sandra Correa, as well as Fallon Kaiser, three of my very best friends here in Salt Lake City. We're going to jump right into this cocktail that I created for you all called Thai in Place. Influenced by Thai flavors, I wanted to create something that was kind of a riff on a Cosmopolitan, so let's jump right into the specs. I start by infusing Reka vodka with toasted sesame. We pair that with dry curaçao as opposed to triple sec or Cointreau, which you would classically find in a Cosmo. As opposed to using lime juice, I use Makrut lime as well as galangal to make a stock that is going to act as the citrus that you would find in the classic Cosmopolitan. And then I also use a little bit of rambutan as opposed to cranberry juice for our fruit concept. This is going to be a batch cocktail, so I know my girls are sitting here thirsty, so I'm going to go ahead and pour us right up. On garnish, we have a little bit of fresh Makrut lime leaf, as well as a toasted sesame dust that I went ahead and blended with just a touch of sugar and pink sea salt. All right.
So what are you gonna get with the sesame?
She's doing some things.
Yeah.
She is really doing some things, so...
I just think it's like so refreshing and bright.
So there's also a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the nuttiness from the toasted sesame that really came through in the vodka on its own as a flavor. But I think the ingredient that is most important to me, or the one that I'm most excited about, I guess you could say, is the galangal and Makrut lime stock. Because doing a batch cocktail, it's like usually when you do a batch, you just kind of mix all your ingredients together and then you just kind of like get it cold. You know, there's really not a lot of dilution that goes into it sometimes, depending on what kind of cocktail you're making. So knowing that a Cosmopolitan is like usually a cocktail that's shaken, I was like, I have to add water somehow to be able to get some dilution in here. And I was like, well, if I'm going to add water, why not make that water an ingredient and like bring another layer of flavor? And so galangal is going to be an ingredient that's very similar to ginger. It's actually considered to be a Thai or Vietnamese ginger. The major difference being that galangal has a softer skin on the outside. And then it's where ginger is going to give you like pepper and spice. Galangal is going to give you a little bit more sweetness and a little bit more aromatic and floral note to it too, in addition to that spice.
So did you make that into a simple or?
No, I made the galangal and Makrut lime. I just condensed down with water and just made a stock out of it. Just let it sit on the stove for about 2 hours and reduced it. Where the fruit concept comes in for the Cosmopolitan, in place of the cranberry, I did rambutan, which is very similar to lychee. The major difference being that rambutan is gonna have like these orange and green, like kind of like grassy hairs on the outside, and that's how you can tell the two apart. They're very similar in flavor, but personally, I find rambutan just to be a tad bit sweeter. That's it.
I like that the rambutan and the galangal, did I say those right? Are like,
I think it's galangal actually, but like, don't quote me.
Yeah.
We're trying.
But I like that you didn't necessarily have to do too much to it, and you're just using those flavors as natural. And, like just like you said, adding water and like highlighting that. That's so cool.
I like that it's not super sugary.
Yes.
It's really well balanced.
I find that with a lot of Cosmos, like, I don't know, like, who's using fresh cranberry juice? We're using cranberry cocktails. So, like, you know what I mean? So, like, that has sugar added to it. Then, like, a lot of people make it with triple sec. And that's honestly why I went with the dry curaçao, just because dry curaçao, like, it's an orange flavor. It's an orange liqueur, but it's just not as sweet. And I didn't want to make a cocktail that was sweet. Like, I personally like Cosmos. I don't like when they be, like, giving cranberry juice. So,
I think you all know us well enough, too.
Yeah.
That's a little too easy to drink.
Yeah.
As you can see, your host is almost fucking done. So I'm going to go ahead and pour up another glass, and we're going to go ahead and get this conversation rolling. All right, y'all. Welcome back to Cocktails and Bubbles. We got Sydney, Sandra, and Fallon in the hot tub today. And the topic that we're going to be discussing is women in the food and beverage industry. So I want to open up the floor for all of you to introduce yourselves and just give a little bit about your background. And we'll start with Sandra.
My name is Sandra. I am the bar manager at Manoli's, a Greek little restaurant, 9th South and 4th East, if you ever want to come and visit. But yeah.
All right, cool. Fallon?
I am the owner of Good Grammar. I opened it about 7 years ago. It's crazy.
Grammar gang.
Yes. And I had the pleasure of having Sydney and Michael George work for me at some point. Unfortunately, Sandra, like, where were you?
I know. I don't know where it was.
I know. But yeah, that's what I've been doing the past 7 years, and now I'm not managing, but I have a great manager in place, and we're still rolling.
And we love to hear it.
Yeah.
Sydney over there.
I'm Sydney. I manage Ivy and Varley. I do assistant general management and work closely with the other teams at other venues that we own as well.
Wonderful. All right, now that we're all done with introductions, let's just dive right the fuck into it. So, being a person that presents as male, I try not to bound myself to certain constructs and that sort of thing, but like I have a beard, I have a bit of a deep voice, you know, most people assume me to be male, you know, that's just a given. And what I have noticed is that my women and female counterparts within the food and beverage industry, somehow I feel like we always come up short. And though there is a lot more representation for women within the industry, I still feel there is a lack of overall respect in terms of like how patrons interact with women in certain spaces and how our male coworkers move around women in certain spaces as well too. So those are things that I know. What I'm curious about is what you all know and your experiences. So let's just kick it off with this question right here. How has your being as a woman impacted your career within this industry, either positively or negatively?
I would say it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Starting out when I was contacting contractors or someone to come in and start service for our beer or our soda lines or anything that you have to do to open a bar. It was usually, oh, so who's the owner? And it was never, I don't think I've ever been assumed as the owner, even though for years I was the one handling everything. It was always like, if there was any other man in the room at the bar, it was like they were spoken to as if they were the owner. And, you know, luckily like, all my employees have been super respectful, and they're always quick to be like, the owner's sitting right over there. Like, she's the one you want to talk to.
Right.
So I have great people that have worked for me, but it's always the like outside vendors that it's always assumed it's a male owner.
Well, and I think you have like Fallon. People don't necessarily know like what gender is usually associated with that name.
Yeah.
I remember one time for a New Year's Eve party, a DJ was wondering where you were, and I was there and you weren't yet. And I was like, oh, she's getting ready, but she'll be here soon. And they're like, oh, Fallon's a woman? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, well, it makes sense then. She's getting ready. Like, let her do her makeup. And I was like, I think she's like dropping off her daughter. Like something like a little more important. But like, I mean, that just stuck out to me. That was years ago. And I just like, I've always remembered that.
I actually remember that particular DJ.
Yeah.
And the whole way he was texting to me changed once he found out I was a woman. So that was interesting. I was like, he's like, oh, I called you like bro, and like, and he did, like, you know, and like I'm just so used to it. I'm just whatever. I'm not gonna correct them. Like, they'll find out later. Maybe feel like a jackass.
Oh my god.
I mean, I think like there's just like, this is maybe like a whole separate issue that kind of bleeds into that, but just the sexualization of women in general.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I've met like vendors or liquor reps or whoever that are like, wow, you're so beautiful. And I was like, thanks, but like, we don't need to talk about that right now.
No.
Like that was an unnecessary comment. And like, I mean, not that I don't like when people are complimentary sometimes, but I'm also just like, okay, like this is like professional. So now I immediately like have, I don't know, through time, I like have let my guard down more and more because I know when I feel like, okay, now's the time to stand up for myself. But it does cross my mind, like, okay, now do I need to have my guard up? And like, it takes a little more for something to happen for me to do that. But like, I don't know. Then I'm like, okay, well now like there's this weird barrier that was crossed on our first interaction. Like, that's weird.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I would never say that to like my boss, or I'm just referring to him because he's male, but like any male, I would never be like, hi, nice to meet you. You're so attractive.
Yeah.
That's,
Like out the gate, like
very
with
odd.
no
It's
type of
Yeah.
preconceived history whatsoever. It
Yeah.
screams weird. It screams
Yeah.
unprofessional, and we should probably nip that shit in the bud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
because then all your interactions after with them, you're like, okay, like they're being really nice,
Mhm.
and they're like offering me these things, and
Yeah.
do they offer them to everybody? Are they trying to date me? Like, there's always those questions that arise when guys that are supposed to be business counterparts
Mhm.
Yeah.
are making certain comments, and you're like, I don't
Yeah.
understand your direction. Like,
Yeah.
And I feel like
No, that's true.
that all boils down to the type of relationship you have with that person. Like, I feel like with all of you, like, we have that comfortability where I can walk up and compliment you and vice versa.
well,
But
we're
like,
friends.
exactly,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
friends. You know, we have a preconceived relationship even while we work with each other. So it's
Right.
like, you know, we can have that kind of playful banter while we're on the clock together, still knowing that there's a level of professionalism. And at the end of the day, we know each other outside of this house, so we friends. We can do that. But like, other people don't, and that's kind of something I've always kind of just carried with me growing up, or just moving forward in life in general, is like to tailor make your friendships. Like, the way that I move with one person might be similar, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things that I wouldn't joke about with certain people, you know what I mean? Because that's not what our relationship is. We're not there, you know? So I feel
Yeah.
like the same goes with like your work setting, especially, and how men treat women. And I'm so happy you brought up sexualization, because it comes oftentimes from your patrons a lot of the time.
Oh,
I was
100%,
just thinking
definitely.
of like a certain example of that, like, and this is like, again, something that like right off the bat, maybe alone in this action doesn't seem like as cringe, I guess. I mean, it's kind of cringe, but like as direct or whatever, is when maybe there's a lot of times wealthier guest, typically male, that will ask something of you and say, thanks, sweetie, or thanks, hun. And I'm just like,
Nothing irks me more.
Oh, wow.
You're
When they go for the
welcome, and
reach
then I walk
also,
away.
like the arm
Yeah.
reach too.
Yeah.
I hate that.
And I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, like, I mean, we're in the service of hospitality, and it is like, if I had to confront those things constantly, like, it just, like, if I didn't let those
Don't
things
mind me.
roll off or my shoulder, or if, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I let a lot of things like that roll off, because otherwise I'd just be combating it
All the
constantly.
time.
Yeah.
And like when it comes down to it, hospitality is like truly what I'm there for. I love it. So like, if I have to endure a few comments like that, in the scheme of things, like, I'll do it, and I'll have a smile, and I'll continue with like the hospitality, that service that I want to give. But like,
Doesn't
yeah,
mean it's okay.
It doesn't mean it's okay. Yeah,
Yeah. So how do we get to the point of
just eradicating that.
men understanding that we're serving you because this is our job, not because we're serving you. Like,
Yeah.
we're not. You can't treat us any way you want.
That
just
part.
because we're your server.
And like, one of the things, like, as a person, like, again, that like presents as male, has experience, is like, I've worked in restaurants where I've gone up to greet somebody, and it's just like a dude or a male presenting person, and they'll be like, I want her. And I'm just like, I'm so
Yes.
sorry, but this is my section, and she's pretty fucking busy and don't want your stale ass either way. So either you gonna fuck with a bad bitch or you gonna be hungry. So how can I help you? It's just, it's weird. I think
I've heard that, and it's definitely happened.
it's just like the audacity of customers sometimes. The audacity of customers, and like,
In so many ways.
on that note, I have to just like call myself out and drag me will brief, like, and hold myself accountable. It's like, I've been that drunk bench in the bar, like, you know, being industry, you know what I mean? So it's like, every time something like that happens, which is not often, it's just like, wow, like, this is like, the way that I made that person feel is exactly how I felt, or a coworker felt, when somebody was in my place of employment doing too much. And that's just something like to keep in mind. Like, as we move through these spaces, we all go to different bars, especially in Salt Lake City. You know, we all go to different bars and we all hang out, and we always want to give, you know, the people taking care of us when we're not at home, like in our own bars and that kind of thing, the same respect that we would expect. So if I've ever been to your bar and I've been a drunk mess, I love you. Let me get you a drink and make up for it, okay? Like, I am not above critique. I'm not above being the dumb bitch in the bar. Like, I get it. But, yeah. Welcome back to Cocktails and Bubbles, guys. We're keeping the conversation rolling. It's myself, Sydney, Sandra, and Fallon in the hot tub tonight, and we're talking about the women community of the beverage industry. Okay. So, we've talked about men in the industry and how y'all motherfuckers need to do better, myself included. I am not exempt, even though I do not identify as male. I present, and that comes with certain privileges. So, how do you all feel about women supporting women in the industry, specifically in Salt Lake City and even beyond that? Do you guys feel like it's there? And if so, who inspires you? Not specifically tailored to our industry in general, but just like women in general who inspire you. Anybody? I didn't mean it like that. No, you were just like right in my peripheral.
No, but I feel like it's something that's slowly happening within our community as well. I feel like within the last couple of years, I feel like I've seen a lot more female bartenders within bars and restaurants, which I think is super cool. And I feel like there is starting to become a more of a support group for each other as well. Like something that I know like really pushed forward like the women in the bar industry was like what Ariana did with like Women Crush Wednesday.
I remember that.
Which was something that was super cool. Unfortunately, COVID happened. And so I feel like that is kind of what like put a stop to it. But I thought it was super cool where like Ariana would go to separate bars and like get super like cool bartenders, female bartenders in the industry, and like support them, showcase their cocktails, their talent and stuff. So I thought that was something super cool. And so I just feel like that's something that we need to build more within ourselves as well, like within the community as well, is kind of keep moving projects like that forward and like, you know, move there. And like not only within bars, but within like the restaurant industry as well. Like I feel like bartenders in the restaurant industry sometimes are overlooked because
100%.
They're not like 100% like full bartenders. But I feel like you still need just as much knowledge, especially if not even kind of slightly more, because you're combining flavor profiles, not just of a drink, but with like food items as well. And I feel like if they're super underappreciated. So I feel like that's something that we need to include more in the community as well. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like, just like kind of moving forward, something like that, where it's like women just supporting women, showcasing each other, if not even just like posting them on Instagram, like being like, yo, like my super cool babe out in fucking like Waterwitch or something, just like came out with a super cool cocktail and just like stuff like that. Like, I feel like that's a super cool way of like being able to like support each other and like push for each other forward.
Yeah, it's always about like bringing somebody up with you as you come up as well too. Like, so with starting Cocktails and Bubbles, I definitely wanted to like incorporate like my actual real life friends, like all three of y'all. Like, if I'm gonna do something that, you know, puts me out there, I want to showcase the people that I believe in my life as well too. You know what I mean? And so I love that you brought up Ariana, because she is just such, babe, you are such a fucking force, not only in this industry, but in this lifetime. And I just got to let you know on camera how much I love you down boots and how much you inspire me and inspire so many people within this community to do what the fuck we do. So like, snap it up for fucking Ariana, y'all. Clap it up, snap it up. We all love you so much, dude. Seriously. Anybody else have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I reopened after COVID, I hired a female manager, and I wanted to. There was other choices, males, but I was like, nope, I want a woman in charge. This is a woman-owned business. And she did amazing. She did great, and she moved on to bigger and better things, which I love for all of my people. But yeah, I think too, like with my bar backs, like everyone starts out as a bar back at Good Grammar.
I know.
And we are female employees right now. They're killing it and moving into bartending positions, and it's so great to see. And like, I love seeing them behind the bar, and they're killing it. And even like one of them wasn't so sure that she could bartend, but she's doing a really good job. And so I like supporting women in that way. It's just like furthering their career and like pushing them like a little bit outside their comfort zone, and like, you can do this. It's very intimidating and
absolutely
it's not easy, but you're 100% capable. So, and
that's like exactly what we like need in the community, because like not a lot of people know, but like Manoli's is also like woman run as well, because it's like Manoli and Katrina. And I feel like it's something that like really has been like super cool for me, for like the fact that like I've seen appreciation from both of them, and like more so Katrina, you know what I mean, where it's like I am in the position I am right now because they've been so supportive and they see my talent and they support that and they showcase me. And I love that. And so like hearing you say that about like your bartenders and like them starting off as bar backs and like seeing them become like bartenders, like that's what we need and like that's what we love. Like it's like that appreciation, you know what I mean?
No,
So it's super fucking cool.
Like even with Sid is like she started off at Good Grammar and when she moved here and just moved up in the ranks and killed it. And then was also doing marketing managing for me and then COVID. But now she's managing like 2 spots and just has, I don't even know how many employees, way more than I've ever had, and just crushing it. So it's really cool to see that growth.
So, I mean, like, not to be cheesy, but like you two are totally my inspirations. I mean, like Fallon has been a part of my journey in Salt Lake from the very beginning of me moving here, and like I don't know, we've had so many conversations about growth and about like being women in the industry. I mean, that's been the theme of like us working together for so long, and how to navigate that together and how to push the whole community or just ourselves into a better direction, you know. And like Sandra, getting to know you too, like having been able to, I remember we were out like sometime this summer and being like, damn, we're both doing it.
Yeah.
This is happening. It's true. And like, just like, but having like another woman to relate to in that kind of realm is really amazing. And then like, I mean, you're talking about your team. I also like just love my team so much. And I'm very thankful that the company I work for has like very much empowered women and has given us all amazing opportunity. I have to give Courtney a shout out because you're a guiding light for me. But even just like the rest of the staff too, like I know what they all endure, like having been on the other side of the bar and understanding like what you endure every single day as a bartender sometimes, or as just service facing. And I try my best to protect them, but I have conversations with some of the staff who are a little more experienced sometimes, or have maybe worked in like different kinds of places, and we talk about like what's the level of the learning curve, and then where we need to step in as leadership or as just women who are older, have different experiences, and protect, right? And like, I mean, I hate some of the circumstances that I was put in. Starting bartending when I was 18, working in the industry since I was 14. I mean, there's been so many inappropriate things that have happened, and I've taken that and made it part of my story, but that doesn't mean people have to.
No.
It does not mean it has to be a part of their story. And so like I try really hard to like, okay, let them like watch things closely, like let them get some experience, but when there's a line crossed, that we're done, you know? And
definitely.
like for me, like I think like supporting women and supporting my staff is like trying, and maybe I'm not always right here, but trying to know like when that line is crossed and when like maybe a sort of trauma might happen, and protecting them from that, because that nobody needs to go through some of the things that maybe we have went through in the very beginning.
When you say I'm so sorry, no, go on.
No,
you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say though too, it's like I felt like, especially for like, because I've been working in the restaurant industry for like since I was 16, 15 also. So, but like times are a lot different too, where it's like we grew up in like a different kind of society in a sense, even like exactly like even like 10 years ago, like it was a different society. And so it's like now we have to do like a job also where like it's okay, like everybody knows that like a lot of shit is not okay now, you know what I mean? Like we've already seen so many boundaries crossed so many fucking times that it's like we're living in a different time where like that shit really is not fucking okay. Like there really is no fucking excuse. Like you being ignorant, be like, well, I didn't know that was not okay. No, like you should know. Like we're living in like a society now where like all that shit is being called out.
I think that when we have conversations like this, they do pertain to who we are and how we move in our own industry, but it also pertains to the people that we serve too. So if you're watching this video, if you're listening to this and you are not a part of the industry, be aware of how you interact with your server, your bartender, that manager, that host, that busser, that serve assistant. Be aware of how you interact with anybody in a food and beverage setting, because 9 times out of 10, y'all not gonna treat us like we human, and y'all need to. You know, it's like we're always treated like the fucking help. And that's my biggest gripe with how like women are treated in the industry. I hate seeing a rude ass thinking he cute, but actually not. Please go take care of your child ass man. Like at the bar, like hitting on a bartender that's clearly not interested. That shit is just so weird. I'm just like, have you no shame?
Yeah.
Some of them don't.
They don't, you know what I mean? And like, I like, it's like you said, like we learn to not call everything out, but goddamn, if we could, if only we fucking could.
Yeah.
And we could, but like,
Who has the energy for
no,
that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like then
All the
then
things
what's
I've
our
let slide off
day
my
like?
back, all the things you
Right.
all have let slide off your
Yeah.
fucking back to get to be the people we are today to say that, like, you know what, like that's fucked up, but like I'm not gonna let it fuck me up. But I will help the next person, like you all were saying, giving this advice and like kind of mentoring other women that come up into this industry. So let's roll right into the next question. What advice would you give younger versions of yourself, and what do you hope for future generations of women bartenders, women managers in this industry, women business owners of beverage brands and restaurant groups? What do you hope for them, and what would you tell your younger self getting your start in this industry?
Honestly, it's like you deserve the position that you're in. Like that's one thing also.
Yeah.
Don't undermine your position just because you feel like you're not qualified or you feel like you're not to the same level as like especially a lot of these men in like the industry and stuff like that. Your talent matters. You deserve the position that you're in, and like take advantage of it and like make the best of it. Like
Absolutely.
literally, like don't see yourself within any kind of restriction. Like just like put yourself out there. Is like literally
to like piggyback off that. There's so many times where I'll like question myself and being like, am I being too emotional? Because and like even though I feel like every person on my team is very supportive, I still just naturally question that. And I'm like, okay, like I need to figure out how to approach this situation without being too emotional. And like, it's silly because that sounds like such an outdated kind of way of thinking. But then like, as I was like kind of thinking about this conversation and preparing for it a little bit, I was like, I do that. And like, I don't want to do that. So maybe that's some advice, right? Like it's okay. And I also think the other kind of thing that we as women bring to the table is an emotional side of things that like sometimes I love my male counterparts, but sometimes they just miss, and that's okay. But that's what makes it all beautiful, that we're all working together.
Yes.
Is that like we can bring this emotional side while being logistical and like whatever, but that part of it is a key factor to keeping a team together.
Yeah.
I actually, that was going to be my advice, was like, don't try and be hyper masculine in these positions, because you are a woman and you bring grace to situations that need it, right? Like we bring something different to the table than men, just because we're made differently. We are definitely not the same. And I think men a lot of times their egos get in the way, whereas
This is business.
our egos are there too, but we're a little bit more understanding in situations. And I think we don't want to go my way or the highway, right? Like, and micromanage and be on people's backs all the time. Like, I think that's an outdated way of managing.
Oh, 100%.
And I think what has changed that is that there are more women in management positions, and where we're like, let's talk about it. Like, okay, you're late because your kid was throwing up and yada yada yada. Get it? Okay. Just try not to be late again, right? Like, we're not like, oh, 15 minutes late, you're written up and you're fired next time.
Exactly.
Like, there's more leniency, but with that leniency comes an amount of respect from your employees, where they're like, okay, she's not treating me like a number, like I'm a person, she values me, and then you create a space for honesty within the workplace. It's like, maybe your employee's hungover from the night before, and we all know that happens.
And that's why, like, when I've like anytime I interview, they always ask me to talk about a job that I liked. You know, I feel like that's a very typical interview question. And like, ever since I worked at Grammar, that's like, I sell Grammar like I still work there. I tell people about good grammar and I say, as if like I've been behind the bar this whole time. And it's like, it's because the way that you built your business was about making sure that you gave a fuck about these people that worked for you inside of work and outside of work. It's like you said, we weren't just numbers. We weren't just worker bees. you built a family. And it's very clear to see that framework because you still have people like myself and Sydney who are still in your life, as well as a host of other people that no longer work for you that still speak just as highly of you as I am right now. And like, that's just something that like, I always want to feel that love. And like, I always want you to know that like the way that you're doing things is exactly how a lot of other people should be doing things. And it's not lost upon me, your womanness of it all. And I think that's the important thing about it, is that you are a woman in leadership. You are a woman business owner, owning a business in a very male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Like it's all just full circle having the three of you here to support you right now, because you all have like literally been a part of my journey since the day I met you. So I'm very grateful for the three of you. And I thank all of you for joining me for the second episode of Cocktails and Bubbles. I really can't believe this is happening. Like this has been something that's been in my mind for a very long time. And like I remember when I first got here and I was talking about it with you specifically, and you were like, I want to be a part of this. I want to help you film. I want to be right there. And like, from filming the trailer to filming the first episode to being here now, you've been a part of it every single way. And I've kept you guys in the loop as well too. And I'm so grateful. This is women supporting women right here.
In every way.
So I'm going to go ahead and send us out in one big group hug if you guys want. I'm Michael G, and this is Cocktails and Fucking Bubbles. And I hope you got your bubble burst, baby.